There's almost nothing like a game that truly immerses you, and tactical shooter games does this by dropping you onto the battlefield. Often there is a limited HUD, no kill markers, and a single bullet can be the end of your character's life. Be it in the modern warfare scenario or the World War II, it has its own distinct flair, and today we're looking at different immersive tactical shooters available for PC in 2020. Squad just officially launched after 6 years in development. The game has heavy focus on teamwork, communication, and in the center of it all is your squad. You fight on over 20 different large-scale maps featuring many different land vehicles, as well as transport helicopters. 2 teams fight to complete various objectives, such as capturing tactical locations, destroying weapon caches, and depleting enemy reinforcements. The game has a strong player base, and as of August, it averaged around 3,800 players and had a peak of almost 7,000 players. For support, the game has a clear and good roadmap and has many good updates recently to it, by adding new factions and maps and more. Scriptum is a World War II simulation game, focusing on historical accuracy and large-scale battles. Unlike Squad, it has a slightly more difficult learning curve and has a strong need for cohesion, communication, and teamwork. The game bolsters a unique flair and style, and visually the game is stunning and worth experiencing on higher graphics. The sound design is also very impressive. The player base as of August had an average of around 650 players, but it peaked at around 1700. The game has a clear roadmap for future improvements, as well as a developer's blog that shares updates every month. Hell Let Loose is also a World War II game. It places you in battles of up to 100 players with infantry, tanks, artillery, and with a dynamically shifting front line and unique resource-focused metagame. It's a very strategy-friendly game and can be approached in many different ways. Teamwork is of course a key component, and Hell Let Loose is best experienced with a squad of friends. The game also has very good visuals, look and feel. This game has a better entry level for newer players of the genre and is quick to get into but really hard to master. The player base as of August had an average of around 2,800 players, and it peaked on almost 6,000 players. The game has a very clear roadmap and gives you briefs on their Steam page. There are plans for improvements to optimization, the game engine, and audio, and more content is coming in the future. Ground Branch is a modern FPS shooter by Blackfoot Studios. This game promises to put tactical back in tactical shooters and does deliver on some of its promises. It has developers coming from the old guard of tactical games like Rainbow Six and Ghost Recon before those games became a more casual experience. But note, it is very much a work in progress and there are still many things that needs to be added and worked on. Hopefully this game gets more attention with its newer updates in the future. The player base as of August averaged around 20 players and had a peak of around 43, so this game is best experienced with a group. For support, it has a very in-depth roadmap with many features coming to the game. Remember, it's a small dev team, but they have been very consistent for a really long time. Definitely a game that's worth checking out. Rising Storm 2 Vietnam promises a tense asymmetrical warfare experience for up to 64 players in an online battle between the United States military and the North Vietnamese guerrilla forces. If you want something more fast-paced, this is probably a good pickup. It also is the only entry that's based on the Vietnam War. The player base as of August averaged around 1,200 players with a peak of around 2,000 players. For support, the roadmap has been completed and the official support has been stopped, but there are still mod support and stuff coming out for the game. Insurgency Sandstorm is a team-based tactical FPS based on lethal close quarters combat. A typical Sandstorm game is often very intense and very immersive, and a huge part of this immersion is the excellent sound design this game has. This game also has a competitive side to it with ranked play. The player base as of August averaged around 2,000 players and it peaked of around 3,000 players. For support, it recently had some very good updates with the Nightfall update that added night maps with NVGs and more, and it also just added new weapons. There's a new update coming soon called Operation Breakout, so stay tuned for that. Verdun is a realistic tactical squad-based game set in the trenches of World War I that can be played with up to 64 players with 32 players on each side. It's also the only entry with World War I focus. Verdun is a part of a 2-game series of World War I games with its sibling Tannenberg also available that focuses on the Eastern Front. The player base as of August averaged around 182 players and it peaked of around 600 players. For support, the game recently had an operation that ran for 10 days. This campaign was inspired by the Battle of Somme on the Western Front and the Brusilov Offensive on the Eastern Front. These were major operations for the Entente forces in 1916. You can read more about this on their Steam page, but it's a very cool concept and it seems like the community really enjoys it. Arma 3 may be the king of tactical military sandboxes. Going strong since its release from early access in 2013, it has had a consistent flow of updates and new DLC. The game is still widely popular and has spawned through its massive modding scene other games and game types like Battle Royale and DayZ. It also has single-player campaigns for people to enjoy as well as challenges and showcases. The biggest drawback for some is the performance. It still has a very active community and every month there's a new community radar that features content from its players. The player base as of August was around average 13,000 players and a peak of almost 23,000. For support, even though the devs have mostly gone over to other Bohemia projects like the development of the Infusion engine that will power Bohemia's future titles, there is still official updates to the game and new content dropped by the remaining dev team. The next creator DLC will be CSLA Iron Curtain and was just announced recently. Project Reality is a combined arms tactical FPS game modification to Battlefield 2 that aims to create a realistic combat environment where the core gameplay encourages teamwork and coordination. The game launched standalone in 2015 and is now in version 1.6. The game has been in development for almost 16 years. Project Reality looks dated because of the old game engine, but the core gameplay really compensates for it and does a really good job of immersing the player. The player base is, last I checked, it had around 200 to 300 concurrent players and active servers. For support, they recently implemented the World War II Western Front theater with fully equipped US Army and Wehrmacht battling on 5 maps with dozens of new weapons and vehicles. They also say there's going to be introduced several new assets and features to the core Project Reality experience. Escape from Tarkov is a hardcore and realistic first-person shooter with RPG and MMO features. It also has a very unique progression system. The game is very detailed and has some very realistic elements, especially with the gun building and the guns themselves. The game is very unforgiving and has a steep learning curve, and it does not hold your hand at all, but it can be incredibly rewarding when you succeed in a raid. The player base, it was reported that it had over 200,000 concurrent players after the last wipe, but it's no good way to monitor it, but you're not going to have a hard time getting into a game. For support, the game is still in beta, so it's being supported still, and we're looking forward to new updates and a new map coming soon to the game. That concludes the games I wanted to highlight for this video. There are probably many more tactical shooters available out there, and personally I am interested in games such as Ready or Not and Beyond Wire, but I didn't include these games since they are so early in their development cycles. But so, did I miss any? What games do you enjoy and think need more recognition? Let me know in the comment section and consider supporting me and my channel by subscribing and following me on other social media.